Hi everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. It's an interesting time that we're in, and I think now more than ever it's important for students to spend time to figure out who they are or who they can be online, how they can build their digital presence, especially through a platform like LinkedIn. So myself and Ledo are here to talk to you about how to stand out on LinkedIn as a student specifically. So a bit about me. My name is Blessing Adagama. I am a junior computer information systems major. I just completed my third co-op at Bloomberg as a data engineer, and this summer I'll be interning at Microsoft as a program manager. I came to the United States 5 years ago from the United Kingdom, and ever since coming to Drexel and realizing how expensive this school was, I knew that I had to really take advantage of the resources and the opportunities that I was surrounded by. So that landed me at my first co-op, which was at a startup based in Georgia. I was working as a social business strategist, and one of my main tasks was to teach professionals how to use LinkedIn. So this was my very first introduction to what LinkedIn is, how professionals use it, and why they should be using it. So early on, as I was teaching these professionals and as I was on LinkedIn myself, I realized that not many students were actually using the platform, or they weren't active on the platform. And so I started to challenge myself to see how I could create a space for students on the platform as well as just myself. And I started creating content and building up my profile, helping other students with their profile. And I guess since then, in the past 3 years, LinkedIn has turned into a platform that you can share your story, that you can use content to do that, whether it's articles or videos. And I've been able to build my personal brand through that and create a lot of opportunities as well. So I'm excited to share with you about my story a bit later on, but also show you how you can leverage LinkedIn. So I'll pass it on to Ledo.
Hi everyone, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ledo. I am, or Ledon by Willen, but most people call me Ledo. I am a pre-junior studying computing and security technology. Wasn't always this major. Switched around a bit at Drexel, started off with biomed engineering, but I wanted to pursue medicine, and then I thought I was more interested in technology. And so thankfully, I figured that out early on in my collegiate journey, and I think that transition really opened me up to a different world, because I saw that because prior to coming to college and just my freshman year, I really thought, okay, all I had to do was just stick to one thing, and if I wanted to be a doctor, I just had to focus on my science courses. But then moving to CCI, which is the College of Computing and Informatics, and just seeing a different world in technology, I saw wow, I could actually, this field cuts across so many different industries, so I don't have to restrict myself. So that was one realization in my career. But then how did I translate that back to my social life and my personal life at Drexel? So it starts with my sophomore year. I knew that I had to, if anyone knew me, especially, I think I knew Nadine from freshman year, and I used to be really shy and timid. I barely used to speak, and I'm actually an international student from Nigeria, and just seeing how my parents were willing to take that risk with me for me to come overseas to pursue higher education. I knew that kind of like all blessings, that I had to make the most of my time here. And on one end, I could just go through my 5 years at Drexel and just get a diploma, which is good. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, I wasn't just here to get a degree. I wanted to really extract all the possible opportunities, information, and just the experiences that will really shape and give me a holistic college experience. That was really my goal. And one of the ways I knew I had to do that was to come out of my shell one way or the other. And so my sophomore year, I started just going out to more events on campus, or just events around me really that I could afford to attend. And just by doing that, I started meeting more people. I think one of the first few ones I attended was actually one that Blessing was speaking at, and she was talking about LinkedIn. And just I guess, and that's the amazing thing about just hearing people's stories, is that it encourages you to see that you also can do what they did, not exactly in the same way, but if someone else could do it, then you can as well. And that was the hope I took away from that events I went to. And then that was just really how things started out for me. Like, just don't get me wrong, it didn't happen overnight. I'm not saying I became like this old LinkedIn person that started sharing my story like just in one day. No. It took some time. It took me learning from other people. And then eventually we started building Students of LinkedIn, which is a community that myself, Blessing, and one of our other co-founders created that really just helps students to utilize LinkedIn. Because I guess even for me as well, contrary to what I thought, like I thought LinkedIn was just for professional purposes, and it is, don't get me wrong, but like there's a lot more you can do to enjoy the platform, to share your story. And that's what we'll be talking to you more about today. So, and we just hope that this also really helps you, because in a time like this where, COVID-19 is taking the world by storm, it's really easy for students to feel like they don't have a place, or, and I know it's definitely affected us in one way or the other. But we just hope that through this presentation, you get to know more about how to just build an online digital presence. So yeah.
So before going into this properly, we wanted to break down, the what, the why, when, and who of LinkedIn. So I'll start off by talking about the what and the why. So my definition that I coined of LinkedIn is that it's a platform that helps you build a bridge between your campus and career. So as I mentioned earlier, I found ways in which I, as a student, was able to create content, was able to share my story, was able to network with other students and even professionals and recruiters in a way that it's almost like a training ground for when I actually start my career, when I go into my career. So I've found LinkedIn as a place that um, I can hear from others. As Leto said, it was a lot of learning from other people, learning from professionals, learning from recruiters, learning from other students about what they went through, how they went through it, and how I can also achieve almost something similar. And why? I think everyone has a purpose when they go onto LinkedIn. Around this time, with everything going on, a lot of people are on LinkedIn because their internships or their co-ops have been cancelled, or even they just got laid off from their jobs, so they're trying to find other opportunities are out there. Again, as I mentioned, everyone has their own purpose, so it's important for you to figure out why you want to be on LinkedIn, because that helps you get the most out of it. So is it because you're more interested in building up your network? Is it because you want to because you want to get that internship or a co-op, or you want to have a place that you can share your story, using that as a platform to share what you're interested in, all these different things. It's important to figure out why you are on LinkedIn. That way you get the best out of it. So
All right, so moving on to the when and the who. A lot of the questions that I think I used to ask is like, when is a good time to start using LinkedIn? And I think now is, no, I think I really believe that now is the time to start using LinkedIn, or to be on LinkedIn. Obviously, like, COVID-19 is one event that I don't know about you, but I definitely didn't see coming. And I think more than ever, like, even though there's a lot to like complain about, and things are not exactly the way we want it to be, there's still lots of value to be received in a time like this. I You don't have to. I guess something else I used to believe is, or one myth I used to believe is, LinkedIn is only for me when I am almost done with college or I'm already working. I didn't think as a student I had anything to benefit from LinkedIn, but I was so wrong. So I think regardless of like what year you are at Drexel, whether you're first year, already about to round up your collegiate journey, or just in the middle, now is the best time to use LinkedIn. Yes, you can definitely wait, but then why wait? Why not start building even if it's just building a community? Not everyone has to. For example, when I started, I know with LinkedIn, like, obviously, like, they share lots of jobs and opportunities and internships and things like that. And definitely, it's a great place for you to find jobs and internships. But at the same time, that wasn't exactly my goal, right? For me, it was just like, okay, wanting to find a platform that I could share my story as a student, share my story as an international student, just talk about my struggles, talk about the highs and lows of just being a college student. And that was my reason for wanting to be on the platform. And this was just the beginning of my sophomore year. Did I have a wealth of experience? No. I was only starting my first co-op. So I had very little to no professional experience, quote unquote. But I'm so glad I didn't wait and say, oh, like, okay, when I have things all figured out. So you don't have to, be an expert in one field or anything. Just start off, and as you keep on like building and keep on growing and learning from people, you should just like create your niche. And in terms of who, I think LinkedIn is open to any and everyone, really, as long as you are passionate about being on the platform. So whether you're a student, just recently graduating college, already even like developed in your career, it doesn't really matter. I think LinkedIn has something to give everyone, regardless of what stage you are in, the whole career journey.
So we wanted to show a video that helps kind of break down everything that we just talked about. So hopefully this plays.
If you're watching this, chances are good you want to get a job. You want to go from student to rising star, and you want to avoid eating the same meal over and over and over again. Good news, you're in the right place. That's right, LinkedIn. It's not just for top executives. It's not just for old people with heavy briefcases. It's for you, and it's the perfect place for you to start your professional story. Say you want to get a job in New York City. You've never been there before, but that's okay because you have LinkedIn on your side. You start by creating your profile. You give it love because you know it's what recruiters are looking for day and night. It's your resume that never sleeps. It's your flashing neon sign that says, hire me, for the love of all that is good in this world, hire me. Then you start making connections. Alumni working in New York? Yes. Recruiters at top companies in New York? Yes. Your mom's best friend? Yes. You start imagining whose shoes you want to walk in. You think, wow, this is a lot of deep stuff to consider. You shake yourself out of it and start searching for jobs. Whoa, that's a lot of jobs for students. Time to get down to business. You start to tailor your profile. You start applying. You feel empowered, in control, like you should be CEO. That gives you an idea. You look up all the CEOs of all the companies you want to work at. You see one of them went to your university. Then it hits you. You see a clear path from campus to career. You feel like you can see the future. You wonder if you're psychic. Should you start a hotline? No, back to plan A. You keep tailoring and connecting and applying, and before you know it, you start getting responses. First a few, then more, then an interview, and then you're hired. And that's when the real learning begins.
Okay, so as we kind of talked about, LinkedIn serves a lot of different purposes. One of the first things that I started doing when I got to LinkedIn was connecting. Coming to the United States, I did not have, family here. I did not have friends, or even like my family did not have, people that were already in the industry, whether technical or not. So I did not really have a community when I first came here. And especially thinking about, the future and then going into my career, getting a full-time job, I knew that, there's a whole saying that your network is your net worth. At that point, I didn't know how. So if that's true, how am I supposed to build my network in a way that will serve me, throughout college, but also after. So the first thing that I started doing on LinkedIn when it comes to connecting with people is that LinkedIn has an alumni feature. I believe if you type in on Google, like LinkedIn alumni, Drexel University, or you just type in Drexel University in the search bar, it should come up. And through that feature, you're able to see, and you're able to filter through Drexel alumni, and also filter as far as, what major they had or what industry they're working in now or when they graduated, things like that. So that was my first idea when it comes to connecting with people, because there was already a connection point, which was that they went to Drexel. So early on, I also realized the importance of sending personalized connection requests. So when you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn, you can easily just click the connect button. But usually I think now as well, when you want to connect with someone that way, it prompts you to send a personalized connection request. And I've seen the importance in this because it shows that you're more genuine. It shows that you're more intentional in wanting to connect with a certain person. So for example, talking about the Drexel alumni, I would not just connect with them by clicking the connect button, but I would send them a message saying that, hey, I see that you're a Drexel alumni, or I see that you graduated from Drexel X amount of years ago, and I see that you're now working at Microsoft or at Google, or you're doing this or you're doing that. I would love to connect with you. And in that sense, there's already one, connection point already there. So they're more likely to connect with you as a student. Outside of Drexel alumni, let's say when you're really connecting to strangers, there's no connection point. Something that I found fun for me to do is to try and find a connection point, whether that's looking through the person's profile to see if there's anything that they've done or that they're doing currently that interests me. I would use that as a connection point. On the screen here, there's an example of a screenshot that I took from one of Microsoft's Instagram pages called Microsoft Life. So here they feature different employees doing certain things. One day, I think it was like a year ago, I saw this woman, Lashanda, who did an Instagram takeover on the Microsoft page about how she volunteers and what she does for that. Because Microsoft was a company that I really admired, and I wanted to build my network with, employees or professionals that work at Microsoft, I wanted to connect with more people that way. So in this case, I found this woman on LinkedIn. I literally just typed in her name, because obviously there it doesn't show her last name. So I typed in Lashanda, Microsoft, and I was able to match the pictures. And in this case, I sent her a personalized connection request saying that, hi, Lashanda, loved your Instagram takeover on the Microsoft Instagram page. Would love to connect with you. Community service is such an all-round rewarding experience. So here, I guess like the trick or the strategy that I use when it comes to sending personalized connection requests is to find a point of connection. So in this case, the point of connection was that we are both interested in volunteering or service in the respect of community service. So I was able to let her know where I found her, where I found her page, but also let her know what the connection point is. So for example, if she then goes ahead to connect with me, I could perhaps start a conversation based on her experience in community service or what she did that day, things like that. So again, just to round this up, sending connection requests on LinkedIn is great to build your network, but you have to be intentional about it. So why do you want to connect to a certain person? What is it that you want to learn from them? And it's not something that you need to say. It's not something that needs to be explicit, but also just making it known why you're connecting with them and why they should also want to connect with you. So here, this is, I guess, like the template that I used to use. Feel free to screenshot this or like take a picture, or even just like form what works best for you. So here is the template that I used. Again, reinforcing the fact that if there's a similarity that you have or a connection point, make that known. Yeah.
All right. So, kind of like what Blessing said, so like this is when you send a connection request, you're making like that initial conversation, or you're starting that initial conversation. However, what happens after day one, day two, where you guys talk, just here and there? How do you really build a relationship with someone, especially if this is someone that you look up to, someone that's in a role that you're aspiring to be in, or just someone you just plainly want to learn from? Like, what ways or what strategies should you use to form relationships? So I think one thing I'll just put out there is make sure that everything is authentic. I would not encourage forcing relationships, either, professionally with a recruiter or just even with students. Like, make sure everything you're doing, or as you approach people, it's coming from a genuine place. So one thing that I think would really help you is to engage. So not everyone creates content. Some people do here and there. But let's say you are looking at someone's page. Let's say they're a recruiter at so-and-so, or like maybe a business analyst at a company that you're really interested in working at, and you see a post that they shared. So don't just like and scroll and keep going. No, make a comment. And when you make a comment, it's not just about like, oh, this is great or this is good. Trust me, so many people make those very vague comments. Take it a step further. Talk about why you can resonate with the post. Talk about what one thing you learned, and you'll be surprised that not only do they see, but other people as well who go through that post see what you see your insights as well. And it just becomes you like just giving out what you know, right? And the more you do that, the more you kind of stand out on people's profiles. Like, okay, this person is consistently engaging, and to them, like that's really how you get people's attention. And then I think kind of going to the second point about asking questions, that's something I personally used to incorporate into my personalized invite, because I see that sometimes it just helps the conversation to start off better. So let's say I read an article about something and I'm specifically asking the person something relating to that post, like how do you go about maybe finding balance between your personal life and your professional life, something like that. And before you know it, not only does the person obviously thank me for reaching out, our conversation kind of starts out from there. So feel free to ask questions, and it doesn't just have to be professional questions. Obviously, you want to draw that line and not ask extremely personal questions, but it's okay to ask like, oh, what do you do for fun, or what are your hobbies, things like that. And then the more you keep on doing that, it's okay to also ask for a 15-minute call. This is something I personally love to do a lot, and it's really just helped me take those conversations offline. So yes, it's okay to chat on LinkedIn, but sometimes you just really want to connect with someone and just hear them talk about their passion. Because I feel like sometimes when you hear someone's voice and you see that sometimes the passion in their voice does not always equate to how they chat with you on LinkedIn or any other platform. And in those 15-minute calls, obviously you want to be strategic. You want to not waste the person's time. You want to come prepared. So again, it can just be you asking questions, or it can be informational interviews. So these are interviews where you're just asking, you want to shadow someone. Perhaps they are in a role that you are interested in pursuing. And you just want to have a feel about like, okay, what does it entail? What do you do on a day-to-day? It can be something as simple as, oh, I would love to schedule an informational interview with you, because not just saying you want to do something, but like, why do you want to do it? Because let's say I'm considering this career path or career option. And more often than not, personally for me, I've seen that people are willing to share their time with you. Obviously, seeing how this pandemic is in one way or the other affecting so many people, don't get sad or upset if people, or if a recruiter or professional is saying, oh, I'm too busy, because think of it, there's so many other students as well in their DMs messaging them asking for their time. So this is where you really have to be strategic and say, okay, what can I do to stand out? This is why superficial personalized requests would not do. You have to really take it a step further. You have to go the extra mile. You really have to see, okay, what's that point of connection? And then my favorite thing, I think this really is very, very important, is to provide value and help. So even if, I don't know how many of you like are on co-op or in classes right now, even if you're not exactly looking for an internship or a co-op, there are still so many ways for you to like just give value to someone. Many students obviously now are like trying to find something to do their summer, so that's the bulk of requests that many professionals or even recruiters will be getting, right? And most people are just trying to take. So can you give me a referral? Can you connect me to someone that you know that could refer me for a role and things like that? And don't get me wrong, I know this is what a recruiter or is there for, like to help students connect them to the opportunities at the company. But at the same time, people love when you can give them something as well. And when I say value and help, don't think of it as monetary things or material things like money or actual tangible things. It can be your time. It can be you just sharing um it can be you just sharing like information. So let's say there's someone that you really would love to mentor you, right? Obviously you don't want to just say, oh, can you be my mentor the first time you speak? No, you really want to build that relationship, but you just consistently checking on them, asking them how they are, asking if there's anything you can help with. Don't think because you're a student, oh, there's nothing for me to give. I was actually speaking to someone on Sunday, and the person was thinking of working on a project, and she wanted to get my opinion as a student, because that project's target audience is for students. So she knew that she needed my opinion and my viewpoint on that, right? I could have thought, oh no, there's nothing I can give her, but just giving her my time, my opinion, my insight to what I think would work for her target audience went a long way. So don't think of help as you giving someone something that's physical. It can just be you sharing your story. And yeah, I think that these are, using these 4 different ways, you can definitely see that those connection requests that you initially send actually translate into actual relationships that you build with either professionals or recruiters.
So yeah, a lot of what Leto said was important. And to give you an example, this was a few years ago, when I was really, really, when I really wanted to connect with a lot of different types of people. For example, on the left hand side, the screenshot here. So Erican used to work at LinkedIn. Um, she used to work at LinkedIn, and I remember I first saw her content on my profile or on my feed when she posted a video of one of the TED Talks that she had did. And in the TED Talk she talked about the power of name. She's Nigerian and so am I, and with the name Blessing I was able to relate a lot to what she had to say, and so that's how I connected with her. At that point, LinkedIn was one of those companies that I was like, wow, I really want to work here one day. But I wanted to build my foundation, or like the foundation of our connection or our relationship, on something outside of LinkedIn. Again, because right now, as you can see, she's no longer working at LinkedIn. So I built my connection with her on the basis of the TED Talk that she had. So, I sent her a personalized connection request. I was saying how I resonated with what she had to say, things like that. And that's kind of how we started this relationship. It wasn't something that we spoke every day. I think we had like quarterly check-ins and things like that. But one day she sent me this opportunity that she thought I would be interested in working at Google, for their team in the creative lab. Now, again, I first talked about how I built this relationship off of um, not where she worked at, but who she is. And I think this was also important, not just that, but also the fact that I and my profile showed what I was interested in. Right? She would not have reached out to me about this opportunity in tech if she didn't know that I was interested in tech, or if she didn't know that I was a creative person. So if you're not that kind of person that wants to create content every day or just create content in general, your LinkedIn profile is the next best thing, right? It's something that you should focus on first, actually, because that is the first impression that you give to people. So again, Erican would not have reached out to me. She would not have thought about me if she didn't know, who I was, what I was interested in, things like that. Another example is on the right. So Lane used to work at Tesla as a recruiter. I reached out to her because she had posted she made a post on LinkedIn saying that she had just gotten that opportunity to work at Tesla as a recruiter. So, I commented on her post. I was like, congratulations, along with the other 100 or 500 people that commented as well. But I wanted to take it a step further. So I sent her another connection request. I personalized it. I said, congratulations, things like that. And I think at that point, this was around the summer of 2018. And I was going back to Scotland, and, we're talking about, okay, what your plans are, things like that. And I'd mentioned to her that I was going back to Scotland. And as you can see here, we built our connection off of that. Like, that was the basis, outside of, okay, congratulations on Tesla. But we started talking about Scotland, actually. And she'd mentioned that, yeah, she goes back sometimes as well because her sister lives in Scotland. So that's kind of how we were able to build that relationship. And at that point, for my second co-op, I believe, I was looking to do a co-op at Tesla. So because I'd already built that relationship with her, I was able to reach out to her and ask if she was able to do anything. But again, this is just another example of how relationship building, especially with professionals or recruiters, it should not only be on the fact that they work at a certain company, because as you can see here, they all say former, right? So doesn't mean now that because Lane does not work at Tesla anymore, or Erican doesn't work at LinkedIn anymore, that relationship is dead, or like I would not reach out to them anymore. And it's important to build your relationship on who that person is, before you even think about what they do. Sure, they can help you. Sure, they can get you where you want to be. But if their situation changed, if they no longer work at that company that you also want to work at, then what happens then? So that's something to keep in mind as well when you connect with recruiters, even students and other professionals as well.
Okay, so kind of going to the next part, and I think so kind of like what we've been talking about is, okay, so you are reaching out to people, you're connecting with people, you're trying to build that relationship, which is all amazing, right? But then how do you just build that presence? How do you want people, because when we talk about like personal branding and things like that, personally, I define a personal brand as what do you want to be known for? So when people say your name, what's the first thing you want to come to their mind about you? And this can be something completely professional, so like a subject area, let's say technology or business or something like that, right? Or something more personal. And that's more of something that you have to define, and it's going to be very, very different for different people. But I think one way for you to just start using LinkedIn, because I think most times, you can definitely want to connect with people here and there and send personalized invites, which is amazing. But then how do people really get to know you beyond your profile? Because yes, you show your experiences, the internships or co-ops you've had, if you've had any, and you have the summary section where you talk a bit about yourself. But then how do people really get to know you? Like, obviously, like, you're not giving people like an update of your entire life. No, that's not what LinkedIn is for. But like things about, where you are right now in your career or as a student, how do you talk about that? And one way to do that is by sharing content. And when I started off, I really fell into that rut of, okay, content, what can I share? Am I even worthy of sharing anything? Is anyone going to listen to me? Like, what can I possibly share that has not already been shared? And don't get me wrong, like, yes, some things, it might still be the same message, but we're all very different vessels, and we're all very different people with unique experiences and backgrounds. One thing I can definitely, so for example, being an international student, I used to think of all the restrictions I would face when it comes to like immigration and all these different things. But then I decided to switch my mindset and see, wow, I'm actually at an advantage because I come from I come from a different background. When I am in my classes, when I talk to my professors or relate to other students, I see things through like a dual lens, right? Like I'm able to adapt not only to being in the United States, but then I also have this experience living in an African country, West Africa to be precise. So there are lots of things that you can say, oh, I'm not good enough at doing this or XYZ. You don't have to be a perfect content creator. I don't really think there's anyone that's completely perfect, to be honest. Like, we're all just trying to share our story. And these are just 6 different things you can talk about if you're wondering, okay, what do I share? The first thing is like conferences or just travel. So as you just go through your time at Drexel, there might be conference opportunities for you to go, some within Drexel or some even outside of Drexel. It's okay to just share, oh, I went to, I don't know, the Society of Women Engineers conference or Grace Hopper, or even if it's just traveling, a personal travel trip that you went for. It's okay to talk about things like that. And you can even talk about your passions or interests, right? This is one way for you to tell people more about, like, okay, aside what I'm studying in school or my career interests, this is who I am. This is what I love to do. You can share advice or tips. I know there have been so many posts I've been seeing lately on LinkedIn about, oh, this is, especially because this is final season for a lot of students at other 4-year semester colleges. So finals is like approaching, or our students are already in finals, and I've been seeing lots of content about, okay, this is how to study, or this is how to just navigate the whole online learning platform, online learning and online classes and things like that. Like, everyone's just really trying to help. So you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to it doesn't even if it's something that you're still seeing right there around, it's okay, as long as you can personalize it and say, this is what works for me, and you'll just be surprised to see how you can help other people as well. Other things to talk about include like projects, right? So let's say you're working on a project, especially with COVID-19 now, where some students actually don't even have internship. This is something I would highly encourage you to pursue. So you might not have the internship, or even if you did get an internship opportunity, it was cancelled for one reason or the other. It's okay to take projects, build your own project. These are things you can still add to your resume. Yes, it might not be exactly you working at a company, but it's still something that you worked on and you own. You can actually take full ownership of. there's skills you're going to learn, and these are things you can still add to your resume. Like, this is value that no one can take from you. So share about it. You know, it can be, let's say I'm working on a website today. I was able to work on the back end of my project, and now today, or a week later or 2 weeks later, I'm working more on the front end and the design, things like that. Just kind of sharing, okay, this is where I am on this. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm fully done with something now. You don't have to wait until everything is fully fleshed out for you to share what you worked on. It can just be in stages and in increments. My favorite thing is, or one of my favorite things rather, is to talk about your failures. So I don't know how many of you can relate, but like with LinkedIn and lots of all these other platforms, it's so easy for people to just want to share their wins and their successes, and which is amazing. Like, I can definitely say when I see people like doing well, it definitely pushes me as well to, you know, to keep on working hard and things like that. But at the same time, there's that thin line where you can also start comparing yourself or feeling like you're not doing enough, or, you know, just kind of getting to that self-comparison bubble. And I think the posts and the stories I can connect more with are with people that actually like failed, and you know, maybe they're struggling with something, and just because you failed at something once doesn't mean like that's who you are. No, at all. Like, you know, you just maybe failing at something means, okay, I need to try something a different way, or employ different strategies, or even take a completely different path, right? So it's okay to talk about the things that you are struggling with. And one thing about creating content specifically about failure, something I would advise is, don't play the victim card, like, oh, this is me, I'm sulking. Okay, that's okay too, but take it a step further, like trying to see, okay, I failed from this, what did I learn, right? And I think that's the big thing with everything you share. Like, it's okay for you to talk about tips and things, but like really asking, what can people get from this story or from this experience I experienced? Like, what do I want to give people? I think one thing that differentiates just people that create content to go viral and people that create content for value is wanting to give people something. Like, what's a takeaway? If someone reads my post, whether they're a student or a professional, what's one thing I want them to take away or take home with them, or just, you know, constantly remind them of? So as you talk about different things, don't just share things for the sake of sharing. Share things to really like provide value. I think that's what really makes you stand out. That makes you see you are not just doing something for you're not just doing something because everyone else is doing it. It's attached to a bigger purpose, and you see that it becomes more natural, becomes more fulfilling on LinkedIn and just with anything else you do in your career or as a student at Drexel. So yeah, those are my just things to think of if you're thinking about just sharing content on LinkedIn. All right, so this is a personal example that I was sharing about. So again, like I said, when I thought about LinkedIn, I thought the only thing I could talk about was, okay, this is just like resume stuff or professional things, right? Which is still good. I can definitely still talk about that. But then I thought, okay, I can just share things like I'm going through. So in this post, I was talking about how I handle, you know, or how I overcome stress, because whether I think many students go through that at one point, whether it's early on in the semester or even later down the line. And I was just sharing, okay, this is what I do. And I made it into a video. And that's the thing about content creation as well. Like, there are different ways to go about it. So let's say you're not the video type. That's okay. You can start off with just creating text posts or articles, right? And then maybe as you continue to build yourself more and build your community, you see that, okay, making videos is actually not that bad. I can give it a try. But the key thing is, don't think LinkedIn is just for sharing professional things like, you know, oh, this is my 5-year career plan. You can talk about just where you are right now, what you're currently facing, what you're learning, and that's enough. So yeah, next slide. Okay, and then kind of giving you more examples of just other things to talk about. So in the screenshot on the left, so this person, Ayola, actually just went to a conference. I believe it was South by Southwest, and he attended a panel, or he was at the panel with some Microsoft and LinkedIn employees. And so obviously he talks about the people he met and he tags them in the post, but then he says, because I can't keep all the gems myself, he shares 3 things that people can take away. And me reading this, okay, yes, clearly I wasn't at the conference, but from this panel, or from the takeaways he shared, I can even reach out to someone. Let's say I want to reach out to Diana and say, okay, I came across this person's post and I would really love to connect with you. Like, I've been able to connect. It's almost like I used Ayola as that middle person, right, to someone else. And that's the amazing thing. Like, when you just share, and that's something that he's been able to give me. Like, in his mind, obviously people will react to this post in different ways, but that's the value I have gotten from this. Like, okay, not only learning what he did, but like actually even saying, okay, I want to connect with these people as well. And then on the right, we see Olasheni talking about, I believe this was a video he was making about final season, right? So how, just tips that he implements when it comes to taking tests or examinations. And yeah, so kind of summarizing everything again, create content not just for the fun of it, but to try to like push yourself to take it the extra mile by actually creating and giving value.
So to wrap this up, we wanted to give you 4 takeaways for you to just think about and act on as well. So the first thing is, as Leto was mentioning, providing value. So focusing on the knowledge and the empowerment that others can gain from your content. So basically everything that she's just said, what can people take away from reading, even if it's just your profile, to be honest, or reading a piece of content, whether it's a video or an article or a normal post that you put on LinkedIn. What can people take away? It's not something that you should overthink, but try to find what the lesson learned could be, right? And for example, let's say, something that I made a post on was that let's see, when I was in high school, I got a C in physics, and physics was one of my favorite subjects at the time. I got a C, but then I worked hard, blah blah blah, and then the next year when I was taking like the higher level of that class, I got an A. So instead of just saying that, I talked about how I was able to convert that C into an A, and that's how I was able to provide value to other people. So again, going back to the second one, creating content. So show what is on your resume, but also what is outside of it. So obviously your resume is static. It's a piece of paper that you put your accomplishments, your work experience, the skills you have, your classes, things like that. I see LinkedIn as an extension of a resume, right? So this is where you get to add a lot of context to what you've done, whether that's volunteering that you've done or a project that you were working on. LinkedIn is a place that you have the freedom to share your professional and personal pursuits, because I think now we're getting into the time where a lot of people are understanding that your professional and personal life are not completely siloed. There is a thin line between them, and people are becoming more comfortable in sharing the personal aspect, because ultimately at the end of the day, that kind of also fuels what you do in your professional life. And it's you have to learn to be the same person. It's not, blessing is the professional blessing and blessing is the personal blessing. So definitely provide value, and even going a bit further by doing that through creating content.
So the third thing is to shift your attention from searching for events to networking with people, because they will lead you to the events that you're looking for. Obviously, with COVID-19 now, it's a lot of conferences and actual events are being cancelled or postponed, right? So it really takes away that human interaction you can get with people. So there's still going to be very, like, obviously different virtual opportunities that you can sign up for, but I think this is really the time to focus on people. Obviously don't focus on people because they can get me into Google or get me into Microsoft or like any of these other companies. Focus on them like because of just who they are as people. I always say don't reach out to someone for what they can do for you. Reach out to them because of who they are. Like, genuinely find people that you can connect with, and it can be anything. It doesn't. I kind of like the best of the examples that Weston was giving, like just talking about somewhere maybe perhaps you guys lived in the same place, or you have an attachment to something. Like, it doesn't have to be just professional reasons for connecting with someone. It can be something personal as well. So yes, definitely go for events. Like, I'm not saying events are not helpful. They have been very helpful, because actually at those events I've even met people as well. But right now, where you are, just, obviously being in lockdown, being in quarantine, like, you can still connect with people. And the more you like build that relationship and that community, and the more you share your interests, I think honestly a lot of the things that I have been aware of was because someone would send this to me because they knew I was interested in XYZ. So it's really important for you to put that interest out there, like, okay, this is who I am, this is something, this is what I'm looking at for. And then it just becomes like this chain of you helping someone passing information to you, you passing it on to someone else. So definitely just find that balance between networking but also like genuinely connecting with people. And then the last thing is to really just do it. Yes, we've given you all these strategies and tips, and you might not remember everything, but that's the thing, like, the more it's just start, really just start, and you form your own principles, your own rules, your own like, form your why. Like, why do you want to use LinkedIn? Is it just to connect with people? Is this something to just pass time with in this lockdown or quarantine? That's okay too. Is it you wanting to find other people outside your Drexel community or Drexel circle of friends or peers? Like, it's okay, but I think don't overthink it. Don't think you have to have a wealth of experience or a wealth of knowledge. Just start off with where you are. Just create that profile or make that post, whatever that big step is for you, whatever that step you need to take is, just do it. And one day after the other, it would all flow. So yeah. Also, so like I said, Students of LinkedIn is the community that we co-founded, and there we just really try to, our mission is to educate, encourage, and to expose students to build authentic personal brands and to unlock their potential through LinkedIn. All you really have to do, there's no like application process or anything. All you have to do is go on LinkedIn and literally type in the search bar Students of LinkedIn, and then I believe you hit the follow button, and that's it. So yeah, I hope you found this insightful. We'll be happy to take any questions you might have if you connect with us.
Alrighty, thank you so much, guys, for sharing your stories and providing such solid feedback and advice on how to get started or improve your own LinkedIn. Does anyone have any questions? Because I have a couple. All right, I think that is a no, but how valuable do you think recommendations are? Do you feel like you should seek it out, or what focus, do you focus more on like building your network, or how do you like go about it?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again?
Sure. How valuable are like recommendations on LinkedIn?
Wait, sorry. Oh, so you mean, okay, like adding, like someone giving you a recommendation to
Yeah,
your
exactly.
profile? Okay. Okay. I think they are important. To be very honest, okay, maybe because I'm a student who I'm not exactly like looking to give people an internship or a job. Maybe recruiters or professionals actually look more on that section. I don't really, I think even if you don't have like tons of recommendation, it's okay, definitely okay to like have a few, here and there. But I don't think you're at a disadvantage if you don't have, a bulk of recommendations on your profile. Definitely it's great because other people in different roles can speak to your skills and your strengths, right? But I think
Definitely.
so if you don't have that, that's, I think, even the more reason why it's important for you to be creating content or just telling people about who you are and what you're interested in, and just saying, okay, and again, sharing projects you're working on, just things like that, just to kind of say, okay, these are my strengths, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm interested in, and you know again, creating that awareness that people can pass on whatever it is that they know would be of benefit to you. But I don't know if Blessing has anything else to add.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, makes a lot of
Yeah, I
sense.
was just gonna say, I definitely agree with what Ledo said. I remember when I was first getting on LinkedIn, I was really focused on endorsements, especially on like skills. And if you look at the structure of your profile, it first goes like basically what you're seeing on the screen right now. Like this is like your initial impression. As you go down, you get your about section, you get your work experience, and then I believe education. Your recommendations and your endorsements are almost at the very bottom of your profile. Not
Mhm.
to say that that's something that you shouldn't focus on getting, but as Ledo said, if you know, recommendations are valuable when it's like you're adding credibility to
Right.
something. So for example, if you know my profile was not complete 100%, or I did not have any context on my profile, then how valuable would that recommendation or that endorsement be, if that makes sense? So it's
Definitely.
more of like an addition that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you need to focus a little more on like the content of your profile rather than like the credibility. So yeah, that's great. What kind of like what things to avoid, I guess, from experience?
Let's
um
go first.
Like sharing too much or sharing too little? Like, give us your insight.
what to avoid? I think so. When I first got on LinkedIn, again, I was curious because I was interested to see how a student can build their presence on LinkedIn, but I was
Mhm.
also holding myself back because I didn't necessarily know what was allowed, because obviously you're a student, you're not a professional,
Mhm.
you're on
Yeah.
this platform. So what exactly is acceptable in the eyes of LinkedIn and other professionals? So, you
Yeah.
know, everything on my profile was strict. My headline would say student at Drexel University. It would basically just look like a more visually appealing version of my resume.
Mhm.
And that's something that does not really make me stand out.
Mhm.
So in I think my my suggestion for what people should avoid is just to avoid making your profile such a static thing. It's LinkedIn, it's online, you can always change it. If I wanted to change my banner or my profile picture, I can do that. So don't treat it the same as your resume, in the sense that, you know, once co-op starts, that's when you update your resume, and then you don't
Yeah.
look at it again until 6 months later. So LinkedIn is something that you can
Update.
always
Yeah.
update. Exactly.
Definitely. I think I always like fall victim into like updating my LinkedIn, which is a really bad thing, but I will do better.
Something to
Well,
add
how
to
do
that.
you?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
okay. So just something else to add to everything she said. So I think one thing, and this is like a very little thing, but I think it really goes a long way, is something to avoid is like spelling people's names wrong, right? So let's say you're connecting
Yeah.
with people on LinkedIn, and obviously when you send that personalized invite, you're going to be saying like, you're going to be saying, "Hey, X person's name," right? And it's literally there. So even if it just takes you 5 extra seconds to read over what, just ensuring that, because sometimes autocorrect, it might not even be your fault. Like genuinely, you thought you typed it right, but then it appears a different way. Um,
Mhm.
Yes, so just taking the extra time to read over the things you're sending, ensuring that you spell people's names right goes a really long way. Because believe it or not, like so many people just get irked by just seeing
Yeah.
that you spelled their name wrong, like even if you genuinely did not mean it. And also
Yeah.
because now we lack that physical interaction, you have to, or students should really be trying to make that best first impression from the onset.
Definitely.
So yeah, and then also something else to avoid is,
Mhm.
when you feel like you're forcing it. Don't get me wrong, like, it's definitely good to share and
Mhm.
find what works for you. But then when you feel like, it's a routine, because LinkedIn should not be like
Yeah.
a chore. It should be something that you just enjoy, using. I'm not saying you have to use this. It can be like maybe just once a week for you. Like, and that's the thing. You find what works for you, right? But like when you start to, put yourself in this bubble and this routine, like, okay, I should do this by 9 to 10. Like, okay, if
Yeah.
schedules work for you, great. But then when you start feeling like you cannot be your true self, or you're confining the way you do things because you think that's what's acceptable, kind of like what Blessing
Mhm.
was saying, like when you make it like static, like, okay, this is like, like I should follow the strict like rules and regulations. Mm-mm. You take out the
Yeah.
fun and the benefit from the platform. So make your own rules.
Definitely.
Share what you feel comfortable sharing.
Mhm.
There's no there's no, I don't think there's anything like, oh, that's too personal. Like if you're comfortable sharing
Mhm.
it, why not? If people can
Yeah.
learn something from it and there's value to be given, why not? So yeah, there are two things I
Yeah,
would
I
say.
mean, definitely, like as you know, you and Blessing mentioned, like sharing your failures. You don't do that a lot,
Yeah.
but taking the step to do so and connecting with more people on a personal level is very important. So thank you for that. But I guess my last question is like, how do you job search on LinkedIn, especially in a time like this? How do you look for internships?
So again, with the whole Drexel co-op, I never really had to look
Mm-hmm.
on like LinkedIn job search or other platforms for internships. But I know a useful feature is definitely just the LinkedIn job search.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you use the search bar to type in, electrical engineering internship, or
Mm-hmm.
you look at specific companies and see what they have available. And I think
Mm-hmm.
now as well, a lot of, depending on what your connection and what your network looks like, at least on my feed, there are a lot of posts of
Mm-hmm.
students who have had their internships cancelled,
Yeah.
but then
Mm-hmm.
also students and also other professionals are posting that, this company has opportunities, or like they have virtual internships
Yeah.
available,
I've seen
or
it a lot. Yeah.
right. So I think as much as it's important to like job search, it can also be beneficial to you to just observe, like
Mm-hmm.
depending on who you're
Yep.
connected to, but also just looking at your network, because there might be an opportunity there that might not be, in the LinkedIn database for you to see. So definitely just keeping your eyes open in that sense.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and kind of just adding to what Sherry said, so like yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely like searching for things, but I think something else like you even do is going on LinkedIn, and you know how like you can search for hashtags. So most times when people share an opportunity, they would use like hashtag. It's like, okay, let me use an example of COVID-19, right? So let's say it would be, oh, I know this opportunity, and then hashtag COVID-19,
Yeah.
hashtag job opportunity, hashtag internship opportunity, right? So just searching for
Mm-hmm.
hashtags like this shows you different, and you can obviously like LinkedIn's search filters. You can have like content. You can filter by content, by people. So let's say you want to find like people's posts that they have made about
Mm-hmm.
other opportunities, because obviously going online right now to look at the company's page might not be the best way, because you don't exactly know what's available right now,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously like because
Definitely.
like, we're in this stage where people are starting internships, and um it might not be the most up to date. So you really want to like look for real time, 1 day ago, a few hours ago kind of posts, right?
Yeah.
And then also I think when it comes to like searching for opportunities, to be very honest with you, LinkedIn has definitely helped, but also the communities I've been a part of. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what communities have, like maybe a Facebook group or a group meme, group chats and things like that. But like I've been able to be aware of so many opportunities just from groups like that, because people share different things. So as much as you're, looking at this one notifications and you're like, oh my God, 100 messages, trust me, there might be value in there for you. Like just take your time to scroll through. Obviously you don't have to read everyone's message, but like just don't undermine groups like that or communities like that, because especially now people are, I think, very aware of opportunities. So you definitely don't want to be lost in that loop. You want to be you want to know that these opportunities exist. So yeah, step groups are also a very good way to go about just looking for opportunities, and even just asking like, does anyone know of an opportunity in so so so
100%.
yeah
Yeah.
field? You'd be surprised to see who would respond.
Definitely. I feel like that's really important to like take the first step, right, and reach out
Yeah.
to recruiters and not to be afraid. Because like initially when I first started on LinkedIn, I was like afraid to reach out. I almost feel like very intimidated by everyone, and like I felt like everyone had like great credibility and like they were working at Google, and I just felt so small. But I think a step one step at a time is very important, especially on LinkedIn. But I don't have any more questions. If anyone does have any more questions, please feel free to ask. But otherwise, thank you so much for giving us an amazing insight on how to build your own network on LinkedIn. And thank you for coming today and presenting. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Your comment?
Also, like
Oh, okay.
FYI, the whole thing will be recorded and sent afterwards. So if anyone missed any part of it, don't worry about it. You will send it.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much
you guys.
again.
Of course, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Stay safe and well.
Yeah, you too, Leto.
Bye.
Bye.